Continuing the Summer Report series today, we are taking a look at the Philadelphia Flyers. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe as we take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers. So the Philadelphia Flyers are a team that has missed the playoffs and then made the playoffs and missed the playoffs and made the playoffs again. They have not had two consecutive seasons of missing the playoffs since the 90s. So will the Flyers be making the playoffs to keep that streak alive, or are they going to miss? So let's take a look at the Flyers. So they have around $13 million left in cap space, so they have a decent amount of cap space left. Probably going to need it for next season, so they won't spend that because you have restricted free agents Nolan Patrick and Oskar Lindblom up front next season, as well as Robert Haig on the back end. You have Justin Braun and Brian Elliott, who will be unrestricted free agents next year for the Flyers. And you have Travis Konecny and Ivan Provorov, who are still restricted free agents as of this point. With that said, the Flyers definitely need a good season this year. There's plenty of pretty decent, pretty big name guys on this team that are up for a contract next season. They're going to be looking for a good year to make some money. So, taking a look at the Flyers, the lineup. Overall, I've talked about it before, but I don't necessarily know how I feel about the Philadelphia Flyers. Their lineup, it's been very good at points, and other times it's left me wanting more. So let's take a look at that lineup. Oh no, right off the bat, there's already going to be issues. All right, so this is not my, lineup. Check out Daily Faceoff. They give me all the information on the lineups for all 31 NHL teams. Power play, penalty kill, starting goaltender, backup, forwards, defense, you name it. Daily Faceoff has helped me with that. So, based off of Daily Faceoff, Flyers fans, Claude Giroux is not a center. He's not a center. He's going to be playing the wing with Sean Couturier down the middle and Travis Konecny on the other side. So as long as Konecny gets re-signed, that issue goes away, swept under the rug. But those are three centers that can play. Three guys on the first line that can play center. So very interchangeable in those parts, and they may need to do that at different points this season. On that second line, you have James Van Riemsdyk, Kevin Hayes, and Jakub Voracek. So Jakub Voracek had he had a pretty bad season last year. So he's going to be looking for a bounce back this year. I would expect a bounce back from him. And James Van Riemsdyk came back to the Flyers closer to home, and he seemed to do pretty well with the Flyers. I would expect that to continue as Van Riemsdyk continues to age with the Flyers, but he's definitely a big piece of the Flyers. Kevin Hayes down the middle, the newly acquired Hayes, who they spent way too much money on, but we're not going to get into that. He's still a really reliable center. He's a good center. He knows Alain Vigneault, who he coached with. Alain Vigneault coached Kevin Hayes with the New York Rangers in his time there with New York, so there is a connection there, and it makes sense. Looking at that third line, this is a pretty good third line. You have Oskar Lindblom and German Rubtsov on the wings, as well as Nolan Patrick down the middle. So a pretty good third line right there for the Flyers. Fairly young, though, in Rubtsov, Patrick, and Lindblom, but I think that's good because you're not relying on big money veterans who could get injured. You're relying on the youth, and I think that's good for the Flyers. That's one thing out of this mess that the Flyers have been in recently. They have been able to stay relevant, and that's huge for the Flyers. All right, so now looking at that fourth line, you have Michael Raffl, Tyler Pitlick, and Scott Laughton. And I don't like that fourth line. I really don't. Tyler Pitlick, he can be a pain player. I think he fits with the Flyers' culture, but other than that, I don't see much skill in that group. Again, it is a fourth line, So you look at other fourth lines around the NHL. I just always look at the Islanders. There's not a ton of skill on that fourth line. They're just a pain to play against. Very good defensively. The Flyers could be trying to build something to replicate something of that model. Looking at the defense now. So in the event that Ivan Provorov gets signed, they have Ivan Provorov and Travis Sanheim on that top pair. So a fairly young top pair there for the Philadelphia Flyers. They're going to be leaning on the youth on the back end, especially this year. You have Shane Gostisbehere and Justin Braun on the second pair. So I really don't like Justin Braun. He fit into San Jose. He's definitely going to get a little bit more exposed with the Flyers. So he's playing with Gostisbehere, who's a pretty offensive player. That makes sense. You have offensive player Gostisbehere and the more defensive-minded Justin Braun. I think that's a pretty good pair. But Braun, I really don't see him as a great top four defenseman at this point. And then that third pair, you have Robert Hagg and Matt Niskanen. So Niskanen kind of being a mentor for a guy like Robert Hagg. I think that's a decent pair. Definitely not one of the best top third pairs in the NHL, but it's definitely not one of the worst. It's pretty good. I like Robert Hagg, and if Niskanen can have kind of a bounce back, a new environment in Philly, it could work out really well for him. And then looking at goaltending, no surprises here. You've got Carter Hart, more than likely the starter, with Brian Elliott backing up. Brian Elliott's on the final year of his contract. He's probably going to look for one last contract after this, if he can. So hopefully he has another good year under his belt here with the Flyers. And I would expect Carter Hart to continue to shine with the Flyers. But we've seen in the past where it hasn't worked out. So hopefully things work out for him. My opinion on the Flyers. So I'm not terribly a big fan of some of the moves they made off the ice. I'm not a huge fan of Alain Vigneault, especially with this team. They're a very young team, and I feel like, and we saw it almost instantly, they brought in some veterans to kind of take away spots from the young guys, which I feel like is going to end up hurting in the long term for the Flyers. Guys like Justin Braun, Matt Niskanen, that's taking away from the youth on the back end, and it wasn't terribly good last year, so it makes sense. But it does leave you wondering how much of an upgrade is Justin Braun and Matt Niskanen over the guys they had last year. So, we're going to have to wait and see. I expect the forwards to have a lot better of a season. Konechny's a really good player. Obviously, Claude Giroux. Sean Couturier had a breakout season for the Flyers last year. Van Riemsdyk seemed like a great addition. And, that back end, Sanheim, Provorov, Hagg, those young guys, they really need to be able to step up and really make this Flyers team, a good one. And there's some other off-season moves I didn't truly like. I don't know how I feel about Paul Fenton with the Philadelphia Flyers. In all honesty, like I mentioned, Alain Vigneault. Michel Therrien, I'm not a huge fan of Therrien. Again, with a younger squad, I don't know how great of a fit they are. They fit the culture of the Flyers, but I felt like the Flyers were starting to go with a more European-style team. We saw guys like Voracek, Lindblom come in. I thought that was kind of the new age of the team. Maybe not. So let me know what you guys think of the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't have them making the playoffs. They may end up being at the bottom of this Metropolitan Division. They could end up making the playoffs, but depends on who gets hot at the right time, and that's really what's, I feel like the Flyers are going to be relying a lot more on the rest of their division not being too good than themselves really being that good, so we're going to have to wait and see, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. Check out our Instagram as well, at Goal Line Hockey. Check out the rest of our Summer Report series. We look at all 31 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.